Hey everybody, it's Chase with AV Pop Culture again, and today we are here to do a very different kind of video. We are going to take a look at a couple of big things that people talk about out here in the physical media world and on YouTube. We are going to take a look at encodes and how those kind of work and why it may not be that big of a deal who does them. And we're going to take a little basic look at Dolby Atmos and maybe figure out why some movies have it and some don't. So pop that tape in. I got you. Let's go do this. All right, so just a little disclaimer here. The audio is going to go down in quality a little bit in just a second because I am actually going to record my editing software screen and I can't record my good audio from my good mic with that. So that you might see a little bit of a downgrade, but I'll be sitting a little closer to the mic. But I kind of want to take you guys through and show you this because I hear a lot about encodes and that, oh, well, if fidelity in motion doesn't do the encode, it's not that good. Or Arrow does better encodes than other people, or so-and-so does better encodes, so-and-so does better encodes. And we're going to kind of take a little peek behind the curtain and explain that, why maybe that doesn't matter as much as you think, because there's not like Wizard of Oz back there sprinkling special sauce in every few seconds during an encode. And I'm going to show you the basic parameters of how that works on the very same software that many Hollywood movies have been edited with, including like Deadpool, stuff like that. I have that same software. And we're going to take a look at Dolby Atmos. I hear all the time that the director didn't give us Atmos on this, or the boutique cheaped out and they didn't give us an Atmos track. I'm going to kind of go into some of the reasons why that might be and kind of show you how, on a very basic level, how that works. I'm not about to mix up an Atmos track. As a matter of fact, Premiere no longer has a deal with Dolby, so I can't do Dolby Vision color grades through Premiere anymore. I have to use like DaVinci Resolve, and I can't do Atmos through here anymore. I can do a 7.1, I can do a 5.1, but I can't do Atmos. So I have to have like Pro Tools. I have to have something else, a different audio software in order to do that. But I'm going to kind of give you a idea of what all this looks like, and maybe it'll give you a better perspective on some where some things are coming from on this, and maybe kind of for some people it might be hard to hear because you've just gotten so used to hearing things over and over again that it you just believe and you see results and you're like, well, this was done here and it looks better than this. We're going to look at it. That's all I'm going to say. So let's get over here to it. And remember that about that audio quality, and I'll try to come back at the end. All right. So the first thing that we're going to look at here is the encode. And I hear about, fidelity in motion a lot of times. And people will be like, oh, I heard fidelity in motion is doing it, so I know it's going to be great. And they probably do good work. But there is no magic thing that one place can do over another. You have certain parameters, you have certain wrappers that you have to deliver stuff in, and it's got to be in one of these codecs. Now, you can tweak different things to get your own special flavor to an extent, but once it's set there, it also has to go under a certain umbrella. And once it's set there, the computer just runs it. So I'm just going to kind of give you a look here. We're going to show a few different things. All right, so this is my video here that just came out of the top 20 4Ks of the second half of 2024. Just random. That's what was in here. This is Premiere Pro. And, you know, so you can see here, like, these are my graphics. So this will give you guys a little more peek behind the curtain. So like, this is my effects graphics, that I created here, where it comes up and, you know, it animates on and off and all that kind of stuff. So that's the effects track up here. And then here is the main video that was recorded with this camera. It's a DJI pocket camera, 10-bit color, log, grade, or you can color in HDR space. But I want to upload in HDR to YouTube, but I'm trying to figure that out because YouTube has a lot of other special parameters that you have to set your encodes to. So I'm trying to figure that out. And it looks like it takes an extra 4 hours per video of processing time. So that may not be able to do that too often. But anyway, so here is the video. When the video comes in, we'll pull one over here that I haven't unlinked yet. This little 43-second clip. So when the video comes in, it looks like this. Not this one particular, because this one's one I was messing with an HDR grade on. And this is a sequence that is not set up for HDR grading. I'll pop this over to one that is and show you in just a second. So you see how this comes in? This is actually, let me expand all the tracks here so you get a little bit better view. So this is when you record it into the camera, the audio and the video come together in one thing. It's exactly the same length, it matches, all that kind of stuff. So you can unlink this, and now you can, you know, move the video around without it. This, on this video, so here is that came together. See how it highlights them together. I don't use the camera audio normally. I will have to on this for part of it. This is a separate audio track right here that I record with my good microphone that you've seen on camera before. And if you notice here, they have waveforms in them. So I basically just have to sync up, because I don't have that's usually what they use a clapper for. You see those on the Hollywood set, like click, and then they say action. That's to give a big spike in the audio, and that gives them a place to sync the audio to the video when they go in here. So click, and they can do it. So when you do that, it gives you two big spots, and you can kind of see here, I just sync up the waveforms. All right. And so then my audio is synced. And that's just the basic. So now you have two audio lines. I just keep it there as a scratch track in case something happens. I can knock it off, but it's turned all the way down. You can't hear it. So now I have all my my video, my audio together there. I got my effects tracks up here. Same thing here. Animate all these. These are different, you know, cues for all of my awesome members, channel members that come up here. I got to animate those in and out, all that kind of stuff at the right spots. So that's just the basics of what it looks like on the timeline in here in the sequence. So now if I want to go to export this video, you see there's all kinds of stuff here on my timeline I don't want. So I bring the work bars and I put these work bars over it. So it's a 42-minute video. It's a long video. And now I am going to export this. When I go to export this, I have to set up my encode settings. Okay? So this is no different. If Fidelity in Motion was handed over a final movie that had been edited together, because they're not editing it. What they're doing is encoding and authoring the DVD or Blu-rays, whatever. That's what they're doing. They're authoring those. So they're going to encode it and put that thing on a Blu-ray, 4K, whatever. So I'm going to go up here to File, Export, Media. Yeah, there's offline stuff. Okay, so here we go. So I could send this to Adobe Media Encoder. It does the same thing. that you can do in here, and it's just for encoding and nothing else. But I can do it from here because I don't need to be trying to go edit other videos while this is encoding. First of all, it takes up way too much processing power. I have a massive graphics card. This machine was built for editing, 128 gigabytes of RAM. This sucker can cook through anything, and it still red lines when I'm doing 4K footage with colors, because I color correct all this. Let me back up real quick and show you one thing. So this is what it looks like. So right here in the effects tab, I have this thing color graded. First of all, though, here's another word. We're going to throw this in real quick. Color timing. People say they mess the color timing up. Well, probably not, because color timing is actually a film term, and it's something that is done to the negative before it's printed, right? So it's a photochemical. That's a photochemical process that is about the amount of time. I don't want to get too technical. It's about the amount of time that it's exposed to the chemicals and the different red, green, blue pushes in the thing. So you can look that up. So that's really a leftover term. What people really are thinking of now when they say that is color correction and color balancing, which is very different than color grading. Okay, color grading is the look. That's the final, it's the final tone, right? The overall aesthetic of the movie that you slap on top of it. So that's something different. But the first thing you have to do, if you're a good colorist that has any friggin' idea what you're doing, you balance the color throughout the thing, at least as much as you can. Like sometimes on here, I'll have something go in front of my window, or I'll have something like a pop-up come on my screen that's blue, and it'll throw different color on my face real quick. Well, if I was shooting a movie, I'd have to redo it. But for this, it doesn't matter, right? It's just a pop-up on my screen. But you want to balance the color, and you want to balance the highlights. You want to balance all of that stuff. Now, fortunately, I have my lights pretty basic in here, so I don't have to do a lot of stuff a lot of times. But I will color right in here. Now, you can use DaVinci Resolve. I'll use After Effects when I'm doing a movie too. But Lumetri is a very powerful color tool. So I can go on here, and as you can see, basic color correction. That's where you start. So I had to cool it down a little bit, play with the tint a little. I had to brighten it up. That does the exposure. Like I can turn this thing way up bright, or bring it way down dark, kind of thing. Is about right there. Oh, nope. Sometimes it gets clicky. Just type it in. And then you can see, you can do contrast, you can do highlights, whatever. Now I do this myself. You can use an auto balance. If it's just something simple, you can use a white balance, grab your dropper tool and click that. See, it was pretty well white balanced, because let me undo that. It barely changes it, right? So there you go. Now it's balanced. The light, the saturation, the tint, the highlights, all that is balanced and corrected. Now, I already still have my look on here. Now, these are a lot of looks I've accumulated, either made over the years, bought at a very high price over the years, or whatever. So let me turn it off. I have my look on here right now. Now it's back on. Off, on. So you see it just brings in sharpening, brings in detail. I have another thing that I can go further here, and I can go into my effects tab, and I can go to film convert, and I can lay film convert on here, and now I've got a whole other set of things that I can do, because now I can lay different film stocks over this digital video to change how they look. So different film stocks have different characteristics. And I can add grain, play with grain, tighten the grain, expand the grain, all kinds of stuff. There's no need to do that for a YouTube video. Like, I mean, it's going to get compressed to hell, so I don't do it. If I was making a film and I wanted more of a film look than digital, I would do that. So let me get rid of that. And then, okay, here are all of my looks. Now, as you can see, this is also up for adjustment. You can adjust the intensity of each one of these looks. I've only got this at like 34%. If I crank this thing all the way up to 100, it gets like super saturated, like really big time. So you have to know where the right line is. And that's the flavor. That's the secret sauce. But that's going to be done by the colorist and stuff before it ever gets to Fidelity in Motion or whoever is encoding it. So I can pick for all of these are LUTs that I picked up over time, or I have made, bought, whatever. The ones from actual movies, the lookup tables from actual movies were very expensive back when I bought those. Because you can do log grading, standard grading, and things like if I want it to have the same feel of American Werewolf, can throw it on here, crank it up to 100, and then from there, you have to shoot it though. Everything works in conjunction. You have to shoot it and light it with that look in mind, right? So, you know, it doesn't look bad here, but I'm going to go back to what I had. Let me go back to my Wolf's Wood. I like how that one looks. I can go with just a soft filmic look that was created. Whatever I want to do. So if I want to make it look like Aliens, I can. It's going to give it more of that sci-fi tone, but then there's several different things in here. I can log grade it like Aliens, and that looks pretty good actually on here. That looks really good. But if I crank that thing up, it's going to overcook it a little bit. But look kind of cool, right? So yeah, but all that's color stuff that you do before it ever gets sent to Fidelity in Motion or whoever's encoding and authoring it. Now, here we go. We've got everything set. We've got our color balanced, all that kind of stuff. Now we're going to encode this thing. So we're going to go to File, Export. Let me click over here, get it woke back up. File, Export, Media. See where it says Send to Adobe Media Encoder? I don't need to do that because I'm not going to continue to edit. I'm not actually going to encode this thing. So, okay. Here we go. Now, here's where all of your codec, all of your settings come in, right here. This is no different than what Fidelity in Motion would do, and I'll show you them in just a second. So, you want to come here and you can create custom presets, right? You can create your own secret sauce a little bit, but it's still going to have to fall under one of the parameters here. You're going to have an Apple ProRes. You're going to have DN XHD. You're going to have, you know, one of these type of formats, an MPEG 2. An old school would do an MPEG 2 Blu-ray format. You're going to have to go in one of these, right? So if you go over here to Fidelity in Motion, let me see if I can find them again. I thought I had them pulled up. Okay, here we go. Fidelity in Motion. So they're going to use it. This is all they do. Look, this is their workstation. This is where they're going they're going to encode this kind of stuff, y'all. The difference is they're not going to top out at 128 gigabytes, right? They're going to have a massive system. So they're going to have a lot more power. And that's all it comes down to is the processing power is different so that they can go through it faster. But if you look, they're encoding and compression. They use the best available encoders to combine with proprietary workflow enhancements. You ever look at the back of a supplement and it says proprietary blend? That could literally mean anything. They added some salt and pepper into the supplement. Like, that's the part that they don't want to tell you. That's all that means. So that is their little secret sauce. I'm going to show you what kind of secret sauce they might change. They might change the bit rate, the render depth quality, different things like that they can do. So they're going to put it in HEVC, which is very easy codec to handle. AVC, MPEG 2, that's the ones they're going to use the most to put onto a disc, right? Because they are going to author it. It's your one-stop shop. They say it right here. So they're going to encode and compress it, and they're going to author it over here. Now, why do they not have Apple ProRes up there? Why do they not have DNxHD? Because those are master formats. Those are master formats. They are encoding and compressing. Whoever edited the movie exported it and encoded it in a master file. That master file is either going to be ProRes or it's going to be DNxHD, most likely. And it could be massive. My film that I shot in 1080p, the full final film in DNxHD, which is what I delivered it in, was like 209 or 219 gigabytes. I don't know. I might be able to pull that up over here. Because I think I might have had my deliverables still pulled up. It's like 209 or 219 gigabytes for something that's like 92 minutes long and shot in 1080p. Because that makes a completely big-ass uncompressed file. So now you're taking a 200, let's just say a 200 gigabyte file. They edited the movie. They gave it to them. It's 200 gigabytes. Beautiful master quality. The manna of heaven. Perfect. Better than what you saw on the day. That's what the master is for. They give it over to Fidelity in Motion. I've pissed my thing off trying to do a unzip a file that I don't have space for. They hand it over to Fidelity in Motion now and say, make us the best 4Ks that you can. Make us the best Blu-rays that you can. Now, Fidelity in Motion has to encode that down. They got to compress, they got to re-encode the encode, most likely. All right. So, and then they got to compress it. They got to compress it on the encode. That's where you're going to get the MPEG-2, the HEVC, the AVC. That's where you're going to get those codecs. Why those codecs? Because those codecs very easily, they bring it down and keep good quality, and they very easily burn. You can very easily author them to a disk. So here you see that's the three that they use in conformance with applicable spec parameters. That's what I'm telling you. They still have broadcast parameters that they have to stay within. You have to, period. There's broadcast parameters that you stay within. So they're given the specs. They got to say, okay, our job now is to take this 200 gigabyte file and put it on, let's just keep everything easy, 100 gigabyte 4K disc. So we got to cut the size in half, at least. We got to cut it in half. But we want to keep the quality as good as possible, right? So we want to keep the quality great. All right, let's do this thing down into HEVC. And they do it, and they set up all their parameters, and it's 112 gigabytes. We'll go back over here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is just a 40-minute video. But let me go down here, and if I had a master quality, let me go DNX, where's DNX HD? There's so many different, all of these, and this kind of proves it too. This is just in the DNX wrapper, DNX HD wrappers. You got all these different codecs you can export in. So I got to find 23 frames per second. Let's see here. 16-bit. Okay, this is just basic. Let's see what that is going to make that file. Let me see if it gives it to us over here. Estimated file size, unknown. It doesn't, let's try one that it'll give it to us here, because that's scary. Let's try ProRes and see if it'll give it to us. Let's just go with ProRes high quality. Let's look here. It's still giving us a size, most likely unknown, which is kind of disconcerting. It's going to be big, right? So that is part of the problem here, is that's going to be a big file. And usually right here, it'll tell you estimated file size. I don't really know why it isn't. It should, even if it's huge, it should tell me. Let's see. Okay, so here's a high quality 2160p 4K. It's telling me 25,000 megabytes. So that is what, 2.5 gigabytes. So just that one video is this video just shot and being compressed for YouTube is 2.5 gigabytes, if my math is correct. So if you expand that thing out, you just keep making it bigger and bigger. It's not even giving me a file size known, but let's go to an HVEC wrapper. See what that did? So now I go to HVEC, or HEVC, I'm dyslexic on this, and it just changed it from 25,000 gigabytes, or 25,000 megabytes, to 11,165. See this right down here? It changed it to that. So that is one of the codecs that they use, because now it brings it down, right? Let me get it off of this damn thing, because we're not HLG is a HDR color space. But you can kind of see, that's what I wanted to show you, is the difference in size. Let me get it back out here to what I normally do is YouTube's 2160 4K Ultra HD setting. That's an H.264 wrapper, which is a little bit bigger, but YouTube likes it, and it's like a preset for them. And you can see that's even bigger than the HEVC wrapper. It's 12,746 megabytes, so about 1.2 gigs. So it's still a big file to upload. I mean, I'm still uploading pretty high quality here. But if I do that, then YouTube's compression doesn't kill it as much. And it doesn't take as long to upload it. But that's what I wanted to show you, is how this just changing that's what they have to do. First thing they got to do is say, okay, let's set up all of our settings. Now let's see if any setting I can tweak over here changes that file size. So I can go over here and say, I got all kinds of things I can change. I can shoot for, this is bitrate. Everybody talks about bitrate. See how it says bitrate encoding? The encode mode to choose constant bitrate, variable bitrate, or whatever when encoding. So most of the time you're always going to choose variable bitrate, because some scenes contain more information than others. But variable bitrate, you can do a 1-pass. You can do a 2-pass. There's no need to do a 2-pass for this. It's basically going to go through your movie twice and make sure the bit rates are correct if you do variable bit rate twice. And then you can choose constant bit rate, and it'll try to shoot to make that bit rate constant throughout the whole movie, which means you could have more information than you need in some scenes and less than you need in others. So variable bit rate's always the way to go, in my opinion. I could probably use constant bit rate here because I'm not moving. I'm setting still and nothing ever changes. So that, let's see if just changing the bit rate changes the estimated file size. No, that didn't change it. So let's see if variable bit rate too. So changing the bit rate processing didn't change it. But that's because I didn't change the actual bit rate itself. I can do that. So here we go. Let's get over here into this space. This is different color range grading. You don't need that because I'm not putting it in HDR. Rec 709 is the normal color space for most broadcast stuff that you see. So there are some things that you can change here. Let me see if I can grab it. Of course, we're not even touching audio yet. I may have to do audio in different videos. It's getting so long. But you can change your audio bit rate. You can change all kinds of stuff in here too. In your encode, now they can do them. You can do them separately too, but you still got to encode. You can do them separately. Doesn't really matter. You can change all kinds of stuff. You can add things over here. You can put stuff in the metadata. Let me go back up here to video, basic video settings. Frame rate, progressive field order. That's like a progressive scan. So it's constantly. Now here we go. Render at maximum depth. Okay. If I render at maximum depth, it still didn't change. Use maximum render quality. It hasn't changed. So nothing there changed it, right? Because it's still under this YouTube wrapper. So nothing changed it. If we go here and go mainline, you can change your how it's being encoded. All that stuff. You can add the metadata. Let me get something that I can play with a little bit more than YouTube won't let me play with a whole lot. That's always scary, because what they have to do in here is keep tweaking to get the best thing. So if their first encode comes out to 112 gigabytes and it looks great, they know they still got to go in there. They may have to dumb down the bit rate a little. They may have to change a few different, basically pull a few different levers, sprinkle a few different things in there to get it down under the 100 gigabytes that the disk maxes out at. So that's, I mean, that's just basically what I'm trying to show you here. Let's see. All right, so you can see if I go down to 1080 HD, it kicks it all the way down to 6,423 megabytes. So it's barely over half a gig. So it cuts the quality in half, just like that. But it cuts the quality in half. And that's a problem that you don't want. So I try not to upload in HD. Sometimes for a time standpoint, I have to, because it takes less than half the time to upload it. But if we change the target bit rate on this, and we say we want this sucker to maintain a 60 megabytes per second bit rate, it just took that file from 6,000 megabytes to 19,000 megabytes. That's a big difference, a very big difference. So now you've got a very, like, this is something that's just 1080p that would barely fit on a 25 gigabyte Blu-ray disc. So if I'm up here in my, all in my fields, in my settings, and I'm like, well, let me go back to, where is my YouTube 4K? Which is perfectly fine. I mean, now I've got 12,740, so I've got about 1.3 gigabytes in size. I go down here, find my variable bit rate. It's hunting 40 megabits per second, which is pretty good for a YouTube video. But if I crank this bastard up, and we talk about it being good for, you know, it's really great if it can maintain like an 85. Well, let's, an 81 bit rate per second kicks that thing up twice the size. It goes from 12,700 megabytes to 26,000 megabytes. So it just doubled the size because you're getting so much more information. So those are the kind of things that they can play with on the encodes. And you have other things, your color primary space, but you're only going to have a few selections. So it's not like they have infinite space to change under those codecs, is what I mean. They're just trying to give you the best quality possible and fit it on the disc. That's it. And what they have to deal with is these different levers that they can pull over here. So, but once you set this, once you set it, you literally click encode and the computer, the machine does the rest. That's it. This is the extent really of the human involvement. So it's not like as it's going, they're making tons of changes. They have to set these parameters first. So, and you know, that's what I mean. So I get confused when I hear people, oh, well, Fidelity in Motion did it. And I'm sure they're great. Like, I'm not saying they're not great at what they do. I'm just saying that if Fidelity in Motion sets something at 4K DNX8 or 4K HEVC, and it has a variable bit rate of 85 megabits per second, and it's rendered at maximum depth quality and this and that, and they did all that, somebody else can do those same things. And then it's just the system that's exporting it now and putting it on there. That's it. That's all. because they're not editing, they're not doing the editing of the movie or the coloring of the movie or anything else. They're going to be given that file to compress and then author over to a disc, if that makes sense. So I know it's probably going to bring up a lot of questions, but what I'm saying is there's a little bit of secret sauce, because you can tweak a few things to your flavor and get that file down and still maintain the best quality, but it's still within like set parameters. So it's not like they do something completely different than anyone else can possibly do. It's not like that. And now I just want to jump to Atmos real quick, because I have a lot of people who ask me, who say, well, they cheaped out, they didn't give us an Atmos track. Well, what I want to kind of show you is, in a real quick way, Atmos requires different sounds to come out of different speakers, right? It has to come out of different speakers. So when I give over, and when anyone gives over their master quality, their master of their movie and their master of their audio, you usually hand over what's called a dialogue track. That's this track right here, where you hear the audio. That's this track right here. This is on my movie.
Scene 93.
This is the dialogue track, right? That was recorded there. I recorded with a boom, but it's the same. And then here are sound effects that I put in. Let me try to zoom in where you can see what they're called. So I put in different sound effects here. So if you come here, I'm going to turn this audio down so that it doesn't confuse you. I got like a storm. I got different sound effects here with the audio soundtrack. So that's 3 different sounds. That's 3 different sound effects. Now you could go on, and then you could have a piece of music down here too. Just trying to give you something for visual reference. But let me get this right here. So let's pretend this is a music track. All right, so now you've got you've got a dialogue, and then you've got 3 sound effects here, and then you have a music track. When anyone hands over a master to be done, what you have to have is a dialogue track and a music and effects track. The music and effects are together. It's called an M&E track. So you export it, the audio only. You export your music track down here and your 3 sound effect tracks right here. Those become then one track that looks like this in green. It's all compressed to one track. So they're all blended together. They are no longer 4 separate entities. They are now one track. One track all mixed together, just like the music track you listen to on a CD. Everything was recorded and mixed together. It's on one track, one line, that's it. And then the dialogue's on a separate line. So you have 2 different audio lines. That's it now. Where you had, I wish I had my movie in here to show you, where you could have infinite number of tracks going down here with sound effects and everything. You can lay some on the same track. I think I probably have 30, 40 audio lines when I'm doing a movie, because just the sound effects, because you can't always put them together on there because you need them to hit at different spots. Like, I can't take this sound effect and put it on this audio line because it covers that one up. And if I move it over here, then the timing is wrong, because you're going to hear this one first, then this one. I want you to hear these together. I want those to hit at the same time. So now you just have 2 tracks. Well, if that's all they have, if 40 years later, when you're doing Terminator and there's no Atmos track, if all they had left was the original master dialogue in the master music and effects track, they can't give you Atmos. They need these what are called the stem files. They need these individual sound effects because they need to assign each one of these sound effects to a specific speaker in the Atmos system or the 7.1 system or 5.1. They need to assign this rain track right here needs to be assigned to the height channels. So it sounds like the rain's coming down. Whatever, wherever you want them to assign them, that's what needs to happen. So if they've been all combined into this one track, they can't pull them apart. It's all like one sound blended together. So they need, and in some movies it still exists, what they call the stem files. This is a stem file where it has each piece individually so that they can then go around and assign those to the different speakers in your Atmos. So the only other way to give you an Atmos, to my knowledge, I am not a sound guy, but like I've had to do sound, but to my knowledge, the only other way to give you Atmos is to completely re-sound design the whole movie. If all they have is the dialogue, now I think I was told that Peter Jackson, they're working on like an AI program that will go back and pull these sounds apart in order to be able to do that. But right now you can't do it, like, because this is just going to become all these 3 different lines right here. They're going to look like this right here. They're going to look like this green line right here. Once you export them and you master them, that's what they're going to look like together. So you can't pull those sounds apart individually. So your other and make it sound good. So the other option is to completely redesign or sound design the whole movie. Leave your dialogue in there and keep it center channel and right and left, and then put in all new sound effects. And I'm going to tell you, people will get them if they did that, but it's an option. Well, I remember like when sound effects for lasers or something in Star Wars one time changed, people went nuts. So just keep in mind, it may not be that they're cheap and they don't want to give you an Atmos, or the director didn't want to give you an Atmos. They may just have the master M&E files and the dialogue files left, and they don't feel like they can pull those apart, and they don't want to read-sound design the whole movie. So it's not always a want to with Atmos. But now if they have all these stem files and they don't do it, they're just being lazy and don't want to do it, and cheap and don't want to do it. But you don't know that, and neither do I. So that's a little look at Atmos too. I'm not a big sound guy, but there you go. Now, I think that's about going to wrap it up. And until next time, this is Chase with AV Pop Culture saying subscribe, like, love the channel, all that. I love you all so much. It really helps me out if you enjoyed this. I do so much stuff here. But until next time, be kind. Rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye. I know.